This is my special guest, Angela from Roots and Waves. And today
Hello.
she's going to be telling me how to color the moon card. And
Yes.
that's what we're doing tonight. And then we'll be, talking and doing other random things too.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. We're just hanging out. Hello, Bill. Thanks for having me. And hello to everybody joining us in chat. I see Elizabeth here. Hello, the more intuitive me. It's so good to see you. Thanks for stopping by.
And so this is, in case you didn't know, it's the 999 show, and we're doing art tonight. And so and I got these buttons here. Well, hi.
Ramon.
Uh,
Hey.
How's
Hello.
the weather out there on the east? I know it's cold. I just look at the news. All right, it's 50 degrees out here in Oregon.
Oh, yeah. No, it's snowing here right now. I'm in Ontario, Canada, for those that don't know. And we have
Yeah.
snow. And so, yeah, the roads are slippery and it's a good day to just stay home for sure.
Mhm. Okay, so cold 32,
Yes.
32 there. Yeah. Yeah. So
Nice.
anyway, what should be the first color we go for here?
Let's see. Well, let's focus on the moon itself and uh so like in the typical moon card here, so just so everybody knows, like we're not trying to like copy identically like the colors of the moon card, but we kind of want to make it like our own, like unique. And so being that the moon obviously is the center of the moon card, like could we do like different shades of yellow in the sun's or the moon just so it's not all one sort of
When
color?
you look at this part is the moon, and the rest of it's the sun.
Yeah, right.
Maybe you have different shades of yellow. Now, what I have for different shades of yellow is I have this yellow and these yellows. And so this is more like primary yellow here.
Mm-hmm.
These are a little bit more brighter. I don't understand why everything is rolling away.
Yeah, we could do like yellow for the sun and like Ramon was saying like blue for the moon. Ooh, that'd be cool.
So
You
yeah,
know?
blue moon. Yeah, there's a bar around here called the Blue Moon.
The blue
Pretty-
moon. I
They
love
always,
it.
they always like advertise New York steaks, like two for $20 or something like that.
Ooh, I love a
That's a
good
kind of
steak.
different shade, yeah. And
Desert
from
bloom.
Desert Bloom, welcome.
Hello, desert bloom.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you're the only one here. Well, anyway, let's get. So you want
No,
different shades of yellow. We're gonna start with the sun part, and then we'll do the moon part.
yeah, sounds good. It sounds
Yeah.
good.
So the moon is which is made out of green cheese, right?
Yep, it is.
Yeah. So which color yellow do you want me to start with? Like one of these darker shades, and then go up to a lighter shade?
Yeah, that sounds good. Like darker sort of in the middle and then lighter to the like so it looks like it's illuminating, right? Because, part of the moon like the moon meaning, right, is that illumination, right? It's its illumination is what's supposed to bring us clarity and guidance, in terms of our intuition. So that would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So when you in your decks that you have, what is your favorite moon card?
Ooh, I don't know that I have a favorite moon card. But it's fun. Let's just see what we've got. Let me see what decks I have near me here. Let's see. Let's take a peek. Since it's winter time here, let's look into the winter season tarot. And let's see if I can find that moon card. Let's see what it looks like. It's kind of hard to remember all of them. Oh, actually, it's a
Mhm.
really nice one. Oh, see, this one does have like blue tones to it. It's like, that's really
Yeah.
nice, actually. Hmm.
didn't find my favorite moon card. It's actually on. It's on this deck here. It's not. It's not a the. I bought this one on Etsy,
Oh, Everyday Witch. Yes.
and but they it seems like they remanufactured it, so they didn't have the boxes for the deck. All they had was like all the cards, and so they This is my favorite moon card here because it's like you have down here in the moon pond, everything is bigger in the pond, or so you look at your. I think of it like in your subconscious mind
Mm,
that in at night or after dark at night that everything is more magnified and your anxieties are more and everything is
mm-hmm.
that's kind of what my that's what I'm think about.
Yes,
And then
I agree.
you can see that here this cat that's much larger in the pond than out in reality.
Illusions. Yeah, exactly, Ramon. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Illusions in the Night. And actually, let's see here. This card from the Winter Tarot says, what does it say? It says, the subconscious mind has the answers that you seek, but beware of the illusions that surround it. Get grounded, dance with your energy, and find sanctuary in your magical abilities. Flow with the energy of the lunar cycles. Keep in mind that just because you see one thing in one way on one given day does not mean that you will see that way the next time it comes back into your vision. Maybe it is real or maybe it is an illusion. Figure out what is right for you. That's powerful. Love it.
So intuitive me, Ange is directing me to do the coloring.
Yeah. So I'm directing him with the colors and I'm just going to show some decks and talk about. So this deck here, I thought because we're talking about color, this Prism Oracle, which is really cool by the way. It has all of these colorful cards. And on each one, so for example, we're using yellow, so we'll pull yellow and it says
Welcome.
determination, which is really cool. So determination could be one. Miss Tarot D. Hey, how are
Welcome.
you?
Let's go with a different color of
Good to see you. Good to see you. Oh, this is
yellow. Oh,
another one. This is another shade of yellow. It's called Hunger, which is interesting for yellow. And then we have Caution and Illumination. Those are all great choices for yellow. And this is interesting. This is kind of like a yellow. It's like a greenish yellow and it's anxiety. So it's kind of like we just talked about, right? Like with the moon, it can heighten that for some of us.
yeah.
All right.
This yellow feels more like it says it's more like anxiety, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know if I get that feeling from it.
No. Like these, some of them are more orangey in tone, right? Right here. When you put them all together, some of them don't really look yellow when you hold them up next to each other. All right. Let's see, what else do we got for yellow?
Well, thank you. The more into this is. I just thought I would just try some different ideas here. When we're done with the card, I'll turn my camera around so
Mhm.
that and then we'll just sort of hang out for a second and then and so forth.
That sounds good. We're just flowing with it. We're having some fun. Just a random Friday night, and I'm just so excited to be invited on your channel. I appreciate that.
This is my
I
very first guest.
Yeah, I love watching Bill. It's very relaxing. He's a very good artist. I love watching him paint and such. And yeah, this is another deck that I have. It's called The Secret Language of Color. I love this oracle. And this yellow is called Lemon, of course, and it says Access Innovative Thinking, which is really cool. That's really interesting. I like that. Let me see if I have any other yellows in here. Do I? No, I don't think so. All right.
Okay, so let's see. I don't know if it looks really if those colors are starting to show through there a little bit, but I've put a
Yeah.
couple different kinds of colors down on there, and
Nice and saturated. I like that.
now let's see. maybe we will try in here. If anybody out in the chat wants to like pick a color, they're welcome to do that too.
Yes, everybody who's joining us, let us know. What tones should we make the moon? Like we're talking about some blue tones. Ramon was mentioning that too. That'd be cool for the moon. And so this is interesting for those joining in chat. Do you see all those like solar rays or flares, solar flares that are coming off? Does anybody know what that's supposed to represent in the moon card? Let's test the tarot knowledge of the viewers. Mhm.
Flames. I've read that before. I don't remember. It was a couple months ago that I had all that information in my head, but it's completely gone now.
Um, we definitely have to incorporate purple in here somewhere because Miss Tarot D is the purple queen. So we have to somehow find purple.
Well, how about let's see. I have a what if we start with a light layer of this purple into the moon?
Ooh, that would be cool. Yeah.
We'll start there. I'm actually kind of liking how this is starting to kind of frame things up. We have these different tones here.
Ramon's talking about lemons.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So what kind of
Okay.
stuff does Ramon have?
What kind of what does Ramon have?
Well, someone has mentioned that had some kind of a sickness and
Oh, I didn't realize that Ramon was not well. I'm sorry to
well,
hear
there are
that.
all kinds of sicknesses going around, and then you're
Yeah.
going. He does work in retail, doesn't he?
Oh,
And yeah, and so you get that being out there in the public, or with the manager, and you got all those
yeah.
people. Yeah.
So Elizabeth is watching and walking. Oh, nice. I'm glad that you're oh, come on, this guy. Let me just get rid of this nonsense in the chat here. 1 second.
Well, he's out. Maybe he's out in Florida. Didn't they just ban it out there in Florida? We
There
weren't
we
going to
go.
be not talking that stuff on this channel. I'm like
No,
really wanting to like not go
no.
into
We're here to have a good time.
crime or anything like that, even though that it's on my mind all the time. You know,
I mean, that's perfectly healthy as a human being. We all think about it, right? Of
yeah.
course.
Mhm.
Finally, a late night show. Hey, Tom. Early ritual. Hello.
The late
Tom is.
night. It's not that late for me. Yeah.
I think most of us actually in the chat, actually, all of us, I think, are in the Eastern time zone here. So
Mhm.
it is after midnight for all of us.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
All
Well, I'm
right.
kind of liking this. This is
I'm loving those different colors together on that moon. I like
these are
it.
the color shades, and so for anybody out there, if they want to come on the show, we could do something like this. If you can't do it at this time, we could try it at a different time of the day. You can just my email address is the@gmail. And
Yeah. Oh, Lord. Why does everybody want to
um,
talk about weird things? Okay.
well, yeah.
What is going on? Oh, boy. There's another yellow card. I'm trying to find. I know we're not on yellow right now. We're on purple, but I still am hung up on this yellow because I wanted to
Still
see
talk
this.
about that kind of,
Here it is. Women.
you're up for it, yeah.
Um, Here we go. So let's talk about this. So it says lemon. It says lemon is the color of warmth, inspiration, and intellect, fueling the brain so that you can think clearly, make empowering decisions, and boost your memory. This color is fantastic in assisting with study, learning, reading, and writing. Think outside the box with lemon rays of innovation. Ooh, nice. I like
Hmm.
that. I like reading this and I'm thinking about how that ties into the card in tarot.
Okay,
Um,
Tom.
hello, big nose. Are you
Mm.
talking about me?
Maybe it's this one over here.
Uh,
Well, if you're here for a serious comment, which that's not really a serious. This is not Reddit. This is so. You know,
yeah,
yeah.
that's okay. We just ignore the nonsense and move on.
Mhm. Okay. All right.
We'll
So
find another sandbox to play in. You're not playing very nice here.
go with a lighter shade of. So let me see. Maybe that's kind of a blue green color. The blue green will kind of help to blend these things together a bit. So where are we going to go from here? So you
Okay,
want
what do we
to go
got here?
to go to the towers, and then we talk about that. You know, when you have the moon card, the relationship between the moon card and the death card,
Oh, yes.
being that we have uh that's number 13, not which is which is that's one of the things I look when I like looking for new decks or whatever. I want to see if they've reflected any of the moon card
Yes.
into the death card, and you know, a lot of times they didn't, which is fine. That's their interpretation. But
Right.
if you are a RWS clone, it seemed to me that you would probably want to incorporate
Hmm.
that feature
Yeah.
into that.
All
And
right. Oh, thank you, everybody. Hello.
yeah, thank you.
Uh-oh. Tom, today was the first day I didn't take a nap. Oh, no. Oh,
I like had too much sugar today, and I was like falling asleep. I
uh-oh. The sugar crash.
Yeah, well, I try not to
Tom.
eat sugar.
Ramon says that he has his coloring book too and that you should do a show together. That'd be cool.
We can do that, and I can. But I've also been was very disappointed with this coloring book from with this stuff with the because it would be like after seeing this, I'm thinking, well, I want to color this pillar. I would
Yeah.
I don't think that it needs all this line work in the background. I think that it could just be more simpler. I don't, what if I don't want to put those pomegranates in it, and
Mm.
this is so busy. It's like it makes it, you know, it just I would give this if I were to give it a on a 1 to 5 basis, I probably would give it like 2 stars. But but there's all this other extra information in it that's really good, and kind of that's kind of nice.
Mhm.
That's it really it that, and that part of it's nice. Now that would be like, okay, that part is like a 5 star, but for their lack of attention to detail when they're putting together the images to color, that
Mhm.
really kind of disturbed me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a little bit of this blue green here into the sun to tie these together a bit.
Mhm. All right. So everybody in chat, what should we color the towers? As we all
Yeah.
know, in the typical RWS, like Bill was saying, you can see here that the towers are reflected in the death card. For those that didn't know, now you know, right? And then here is the moon card there. Okay. Oh, Joanne Fabrics. I love Joanne Fabrics. We don't have that here in Canada, but I love that store.
Joanne,
Um,
yeah, I heard about that place.
mhm. My mom used to run a fabric, like she used to manage a fabric store, not Joann's. It was actually called Hancock Fabrics. They're no longer in business anymore, but they were pretty big ish. And they were like in competition with Joanne Fabrics. And it was so cool growing up with her managing because she got, of course, mad discounts on fabrics. And so I was that kid that got to go and pull out all those huge metal drawers with all of the patterns like Simplicity and, McCall's and all those patterns and pick out what clothes I wanted and she would make them for me. So
Yeah.
that was pretty cool.
I remember being a little kid and getting lost in the clothing when mom would go clothing shopping. They had those center racks, and then I would just crawl into them, and then where's Bill at? Where's Bill at? Bill's gone. And then oh, there I was in the clothing. And
I remember that going in clothing racks. That was fun.
yeah, yeah, being a kid, getting into trouble.
I mean, we gotta have fun.
Hmm. Might
All
take
right.
up some. So what do you have you decided on the towers?
Well, let's think about it. So those towers are supposed to represent like the gateway to the unknown. So those in chat, what colors would we color the gateways to the unknown? Hmm. So we've got like the purplish and bluish moon. We've got the yellow sun illuminating behind. What colors do you think would go well with that? Maybe. Hmm. I'm just looking over here at my color deck for some inspiration. Ouch. Mm,
Well, I know there's gray. That is
yeah, the
okay.
unknown. The unknown usually is kind of darker, isn't it? Kind of foggy, like we don't really know what we're trotting into.
Might be kind of like black or
Ooh, we're all talking about stores we can find different things at, like Five Below. We don't
yeah,
have Five Below here. I wish we did. It sounds really cool.
yeah. I don't know because I live like 70 miles away from the nearest large city that has stuff. Granted, the state capital is not that far from me, and so like I just to go grocery shopping, I drive like 30 miles, and
Oh wow.
there are closer stores, but it's the price. You
Yeah.
know, price is like okay, I go to a closer store and you pay $15 for a pound of cheese, and
I know.
or it may not be that it was that high. I've seen like and because they can charge what they want to people and these people there, a lot of these people are stuck because they end up, they don't have driver's licenses or they can't afford to drive, and they're on
Yeah.
public assistance, and then their monies just doesn't go very far, and then the lines into the food banks are like super long because you get your whatever dollar amount you get, and then you spend, you know but if you don't have a car and you're living out here and you're pretty much it's close to a food desert. But what about, yeah, okay, so what color did you decide?
Mm. Hey,
Gray.
Audra. Yeah, we were talking in chat, and it's like maybe like a grayish something that would not be standing out because we kind of want it to blend in, be hidden because it is the unknown, right? So we kind of don't want that to be the focal point.
Do more than one color. So you can do. Uh, I'm gonna start here with this light blue, and then I might morph it into this sort of a color here,
Okay,
and
cool.
I'm gonna come down here and
Hmm. Hey, Audra, how are you tonight? Thanks for joining us. We're just coloring in the moon card, and we're asking for feedback from the chat for some colors and why we would choose the colors that we are, and just kind of talking about the moon card. Why not?
yeah. And so,
Mhm.
how long have you been doing tarot and charms and those kinds of things. You might also talk a little bit about what you do on your channel while
Oh,
I'm here. 'Cause
yeah, sure. So let's see. Well, I began with oracle cards back in the early 2000s, like with Doreen Virtue angel cards. Um, and then I morphed into tarot when I was at a conference where I was meeting Doreen Virtue and Radley Valentine in person. And I was gifted actually a tarot deck there for joining the conference, if you will. And that was sort of my first tarot deck. But um, I realized, like when I was watching like YouTube, that there was like a bigger, there was a much bigger market. You know what I mean? Like for all these other tarot decks. And I thought, oh, okay, let's see what this is all about. And oh my gosh, I fell down the rabbit hole and I am still falling down it, I guess. But I love tarot. I love what it's done for me on a personal level. I love reading for others to help empower and help others as well. And yeah, so I guess for those that don't know, I'm a layered reader. So what that means is I read with tarot, oracle, and charms combined so that I can formulate a detailed message for you. So here is my charm collection. So I have a lot of different charms there in that jar. And yeah, so I'll just, shuffle the cards, focus on your energy and the question, pull the cards and then cast charms on top of it. And then yeah, so that's what I do. And I do a lot of readings on my channel. I go live. I've been trying to go live more often and sometimes I collaborate with others and sometimes I go live by myself. So yeah. Yeah. Tom, tarot decks can be like crack sometimes. Yes, they are very addicting. Yeah, Ramon also reads with different divination tools, and I love that when we combine them all at once. Like, I'm fascinated about all the different systems and the things, but I just find it so magical when we layer it together and how it all sort of ties in with each other. Ooh, domino divination. Yes. I have some of those, but I don't incorporate them. I thought about putting them in my charm jar, but then they're just too big, and then they would always come out. So when I, compile my charm collection, I try to keep them sort of the same size. Some of them are a little bit smaller than others, but if there's anything too big in the jar, then it'll always come out in a reading. And you kind of want it to be random, right? That's the whole point.
mhm. Yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
blue in here.
Oh, I like that blue.
It's a metallic color.
Oh, I like that because it could be like, like the illumination of the moon, like on there.
Down on it, and then
Yeah.
run a different color on top of it, sort of kind of shade that in. Because one of the techniques is that I'm not really a color pencil expert, but the a more advanced technique is to do an extremely light touch, just like with paintbrushes. You hold the brush clear back here and
Mm-hmm.
get light touches. These are Fiber Castle pencils. I think most of them, all of them are. They're watercolor. Uh, they're they're watercolor pencils, and so yeah, that's what they are. And
That's
let's
cool.
go, let's do another color in there to the maybe a little bit more something to make it more. I saw one of those colors in here. I thought this one here, which is a light brown, and so you like the blue towers, and they remind you of the blue veil, and yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then when we get there, not to jump ahead, but with the dogs, so one's, like, supposed to represent a wild dog, so the one on the right would be wild and the other one's domesticated, right? And so it's supposed to represent, like, like the dualities of our psyche,
Mhm.
the
Yeah,
tamed and the untamed, the conscious and the unconscious, whatever you wanna say. So, that's always kind of fun.
yeah. So because my I have mostly heavily invested in acrylic paints. and
Mhm.
where I've spent the most of bulk of my money on is acrylic paints, and I use mostly Amsterdam, which is a student grade paint, and then the Golden, which is a professional grade. And so when I started buying some colored pencils, I wanted to make sure that they had like dual purposes and get the highest quality of art supply that I could afford. And
Mhm.
that's kind of the
Mhm.
basic rule of thumb is you buy the highest quality that you can afford. So
Yeah.
if you're buying cognac, you don't want to buy the $5 bottle of brandy. You're gonna be buying that $50 bottle of Cavassier or
Right.
you know but I once had what color do you think let's go to the sky next.
Okay.
And while you're deciding that, and so you love how Vision Quest represents the moon because they show the wild coyote on one side and the woman on the other side. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, the Vision Quest Tarot. Yeah, Elizabeth have and I have been talking about it behind the scenes quite a bit, and actually, you can see it on her channel if you go visit there. And it's a really powerful deck, and I love that representation, Elizabeth, because if you think about it, okay, so let's think about this. So it's representing the wild coyote on one side, so the undomesticated, right? And then when the woman's on the other side, you would think it's supposed to be domesticated, and that's interesting, right? Because I'm talking specifically here in North America. We are to be domesticated, and I'm speaking about women, right? Because that's she's depicted as a woman in the card. But we don't want to forget that wild side of ourselves, right? And
Mhm.
so that's really powerful that it's depicted in that way. I love that.
Well,
So yeah,
are human beings actually domesticated?
are we? Hmm.
I kind of
No.
seriously doubt that because if you look at, I mean, maybe if you want to be,
Right. Right.
you'll drink a bottle of Pinch. What is that, Miss Tarot? Do you Pinch? Is that like cheap wine or something? Or
I'm not sure. The
I
cheap
mean,
wine back in my day was Boone's Farm or something. Wasn't it
yeah,
Boone's Farm?
I know when I was like bartending, was always running joke of when somebody wanted wine, I'd be calling it like Mad Dog or
Oh, Mad
I
Dog 2020, yes.
yeah. Yeah, get some, yeah, that's the only wine I know about, which is
Yeah, oh my gosh, now you're taking me back to my teenage days. Mad Dog and Boone's Farm. Strawberry Boone's Farm was the best.
oh, yeah, I had a lot of that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think I was like 25 the last time I drank any of that kind of stuff, maybe 24. I
we're
think
going
I
back in time, Elizabeth. The moon card is illuminating things from our past. Here we
yeah,
go.
yeah, like there was this one, Puke-A-Rama party that we had in college, and
Oh,
we were drinking under a trestle, and there was like, 15, 20 people, and they were all drinking like Mad Dog and Lightning Crick, and then pretty soon people would start vomiting, and then then we had to go pull them out of there because they were all so sick, and we were
God.
probably a good mile away from campus, and
Oh
yeah.
my. I'm sure we all have a puke story here and there, don't we?
Yeah. Well, it's like when I was in fraternity and as a pledge, I was like wondering, what are and they have these work parties, and I was thinking, what are these pink stains on the side of the house or purple stain? I don't
Mhm.
I don't quite get it. And then when I was like, we had this daiquiri party, and then oh yeah, it was all vomit. It was vomit on the side of the house. Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Aw.
My mom's losing her voice, and
Grappa, Italian moonshine. Ooh, no, I have never. I don't think. I mean, I could have at a party and I didn't know. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
um, my favorite was I was friends with a Greek girl when I was growing up. This is going back like when we were pretty young, maybe 8th grade. And, being, like, from Greece, they had, like, a whole wine cellar downstairs, but they made their own wine. Well,
Mhm.
yeah, that was,
Yeah.
let's just say we got into that a couple times, and, Puerto
Yeah.
Rican moonshine. Oh,
Mm.
sheesh.
Wow. Yeah, my dad used to make wine. After he retired, he was making wine, and they planted grapes. I just make grape juice out of it. I don't. Wine gives me migraines, so I don't bother. So what did we decide
Yeah.
the sky was gonna be?
Okay, yeah, so we wanted to obviously be, like, a darker because it's supposed to be nighttime. Um, and we want to be able to have the background, like, darker, and then that path has to be illuminated because that is the point. We have to have that path illuminated to our higher conscious, right?
Yeah. So how about? I guess we've been using a lot of blue here. Maybe we'll do. Um, what about
Ooh, yeah, like a pinkish red sky.
what about this?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So maybe we
yeah.
could try something like that,
Let's
or
try it.
you could do like a golden color.
Mm,
But no, okay, I got
no,
it. Fine. Let's start with this, and then we can highlight it with something else. And
right? Yeah, we can always mix. Yeah, this would be interesting. Cool.
yeah.
All right. Mhm.
So how old were you when you started getting into the tarot?
Oh, gosh, how old am I now? Let's see. So, how old would I have been in 1999 or 2000, something like that?
Yeah, way back then. Okay.
Um, let's see. I gotta do the math. I don't know. How old would I have
Okay.
been?
So, well, if
Uh,
you were like in your 20s, or you're like a teenager, or
let's see.
um,
I'm just trying to
um,
think the actual year. I think it was like 1999, but we'll just say, yeah, I think I probably would have been like 18,
18,
17,
and
18,
you say,
something like
as a
that. That's when I first discovered oracle cards, and then the tarot would have been, let's see. So I got married at 21, and it was after that. So I would say maybe let's see, did I have kids at the time? So 25-ish maybe? Or 26? Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's
yeah.
funny how we use our
So
children as timelines. Like, okay, I had kids, so I had to have been oh my gosh. Hmm.
you were in your mid 20s
Yeah.
then, and so you don't, and then so long enough to get over with the Catholic guilt stuff that you might have had with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't like luckily I didn't really carry too much guilt. It was just, here's the thing. Like growing up Catholic, like again, I didn't grow up in like in a strict household or nothing like that, but we went to church 6 days a week, so I mean I was in it. I just had a lot of questions. And when you're in that environment of a Catholic church in a school setting, they don't like you asking questions. It's just what it is, girl, and that's all it is. And you're like, well, oh my gosh. Um, yeah, see, Ramon uses his chihuahuas as timelines, right? You're like, okay, well, I got him at this age, right? It helps. Because after, I don't know,
Mhm.
after 40, you stop counting, right? Um, but yeah, and it was so interesting though, because once I actually started to study the tarot and how much representation of the church is actually in here, but yet we're taught that this is like a bad thing and an evil thing. And it's like, wait a minute, wait a minute. So I started to connect my own dots and to answer my own questions, or at least find my own truth. And I think
Mhm.
tarot really helped lead me there to formulate my own truth and to be eclectic in my spirituality in terms of, studying a little bit of Buddhism and a little bit of like, a different, yeah, different religions and recognizing there's this common thread that runs through all of them and that it's okay that we can take different pieces from the different religions and make it our own. So that's yeah, that's what I've done.
Yeah, yeah, I can see. Yeah, I can see that. It's the because see, Arthur Waite was a Catholic.
Yes.
Well,
Hmm.
or he was a mystic. But and I think he's kind of just said so much as those things within his writings. I've been reading about, and
I
but
think he was still talking about alcohol.
oh, are they? Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, cognac is my favorite. Oh, that's right. I was going to tell you about the uh uh the $100 shot of cognac I had once.
Oh wow, $100 for a shot?
Yeah, for a shot. Yeah, it was
Wow.
it was one of those some of those stuff that was like found in a shipwreck or something like that, and it was been at
Okay.
it was like 1700s or something like that, like right around the either the French Revolution or somewhere around that time period. And it was at a private club in Belltown, and I was going to a wedding, and the wedding was between two Washington Mutual bankers. They were like middle managers. Washington Mutual doesn't exist anymore as a. I think I want to run a darker color in here now. I think I'll use this other blue. And so, anyways, and so this was like before 2008 crash, and so they had it at this private club, and they had an open bar, and I thought, well, all right, I'll just try this cognac, and I had never tried cognac before, and so there it was. It tasted just like rotten wine.
Oh
But
my
I
gosh.
have a story. It's $100. It's like 1700. Right around the founding of the country. That's when this stuff was bottled.
Mhm. And what was
Yeah,
it so, were you drinking other things that night, or was that like, I guess what I'm asking, was it worth $100? Did you get your
I
buzz
didn't
on?
I didn't pay for it because they did. They paid.
Mm.
It was an open bar, and that was also.
Oh, I see, I see.
And so I don't remember what else I had, but I do remember that. I do remember they had a cigar bar in the place too, and this was
Nice.
right. I think it was like right after. I may have been right. No, no, I don't. No, I don't know. It wasn't. That wasn't. I was thinking that was like after that when they made smoking indoors bars illegal, but that wasn't it. That happened at
Mhm.
a later date. And but yeah, that was kind of interesting. Cognac, s- 250-year-old cognac or almost something like that.
Whew.
So what do you think so far? I mean, the lines are kind of bad here because they're kind of the wrong direction.
No, that's okay. It gives it that sort of, like, illuminated effect. I like it. I
Like
like it,
that.
because that's, like, our focal point, right? So that's
Yes,
good, I think.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
and then maybe, like, the little flares coming off of it could be something totally different,
I
so
mean
they
these
kind of
these
stand out.
these ones here,
Mhm.
little droplets of light or the flames.
I have something moving around over here. I don't know if spirit is near me or something, but there's here, I'll show you. This little, this little hummingbird,
Oh yeah.
all of a sudden it just started to, like, move, and I don't just mean
Mhm.
like a breeze, I mean, like, it was moving around, so
Oh.
okay. So someone else
Oh,
is here helping us tonight. That's cool. Hello,
yeah.
spirit, and welcome. Okay.
Yeah. I usually tell the ghosts to go away when they come. It's like go away. I don't want you here.
Oh,
Uh,
really? So I
They,
have,
they
I
don't.
live in a house where we get
Yeah.
visitors sometimes, and there's one particular, like, I think, like, he used to live here, and so he's good. And so
Mhm.
yeah, I know there's all different kind of spirits, but the ones that I live with are good. They're good spirits.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Oh,
we're gonna talk about the solar flares.
Yeah, let's talk about the flare droplets. I think I'm gonna make them. They need to stand out. We can't have them not standing out here. So I think I'm gonna start with them as initial color of like yellow, and then we can put another color right on top.
That sounds good.
So do you like watch any of those tarot channels that have like hundreds of thousands of subs?
Um, so sometimes if I'm bored, I will go through like who's ever live and just kind of see what's going on. And yeah,
Hmm.
there's some channels out there that really have a lot. One of my favorite channels, though, that's a bigger channel, is called Charmed Intuition. And
Yeah,
she, as it sounds, reads with charms, and she layers all of her readings with tarot, oracle, and charms. And she's actually here in Canada as well. She's a younger, I say younger because she's younger than me, but yeah, she's got a bigger channel. I like her.
yeah,
But yeah, there's some channels out there that are absolutely like really, really large. Um, and I think that, they primarily go live all the time, which is cool, like, to be able to read for people. I don't necessarily follow any of the really bigger channels. I kind of really like um, like the intimacy of the smaller channels so that way you can sort of interact in this way with the people in the chat and with the other creators. Yeah, I
hmm,
kind of prefer that. I mean, um, I've just, there's some people I've followed that have gotten a little bit larger, and I think you sort of lose that connection or your ability to connect really, because obviously you can't keep up to every single comment or every single person in your chat, so there's like a fine line there. And I do like the intimacy of a smaller channel. I'm not
yeah.
opposed to growing a bigger channel, but
No,
yeah, I'm enjoying this for now.
have you ever watched those psychic prediction shows or whatever they are, and then you think this sounds like a load of BS.
Oh yeah, oh sure, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
and
Hmm.
sometimes when you're thinking, "Well, when you're drawing those cards, I don't get that. I know you're probably doing intuitive readings, but I'm thinking I don't really get that out of those cards you're just flashing in front of my eyes, and makes me
Yeah,
you're just kind of making it up on the spot." And
sure. Yeah, there's all different kind of readers out here. There's a lot of scammy stuff out here for sure that people just like want to try to get your money or whatnot. And I mean, there's all different types of readers, but you're absolutely right. There's some like I'm looking at what they're reading. I'm like, how did you get that from that? I mean, I can go off the cuff a little bit, go with your intuition on certain things. I get that, but when you're showing like actual tarot cards and you're not incorporating the actual meaning of them, I begin to question, like you said, yes.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, okay, so we were talking about the yods, like the little uh flares. So, um I don't know what we want to talk about them. Do you guys want to elaborate in the chat about them, or what should we talk
Why don't
about
you
or
just
focus on?
refresh my memory? Because, like I say, I did know what these things were like 3 or 4 months ago, but I got so busy doing other things that a lot of things my studies have sort of lagged behind here. If that makes any sense.
Um
'Cause I'm not a very good multitasker.
you're making me think in my head now too.
But
It's like something well, the yod is like Hebrew for something, right, guys? Can you
yes,
help me out? Can you help me out? It's Hebrew for I don't know. I guess I can Google it. Oh, here.
yeah, Yod Hiva. Okay,
Yeah, yod is definitely Hebrew, but I just don't remember.
so well, I
Here,
wonder.
let me see. Here we go.
So if you're if
Um,
you're so if you're going into the Kabbalistic interpretations, then you would be wanting to have all this other information there. So if you like follow like Joe, what's his name, Joe Montalio.
yeah.
I like him. I like his stuff. You know, because he does a lot of Toth,
Yod.
and he talks about that kind of stuff too.
Yod is hand or arm. Oh, okay. So let's see. It says Yods. They symbolize the presence of the divine, blessings raining down on us. The odds falling are God's grace. As in the Tower card, God gives us different experiences to help us grow and evolve. And it says that there are 15 yods falling down onto the earth.
And
I don't know that I've ever counted them, I'll be honest. um,
in this one, yeah. Yeah, so 15 yards. Okay, so we'll just put some of these other colors.
oh, here we go. Um, so represents the starting point of energy and creation, often associated with the idea of the divine spark or seeds of existence. Oh, okay. I definitely have read up on that at one time, but I definitely did not remember that right then.
So,
So thank you.
you have what you have is that if you were to use the tarot in the way, let's say, maybe they might have used it in the Golden Dawn, or that maybe the way that Arthur Waite would have used it, you would have used it as a pathway for your spiritual development, and you would have not have used the tarot for divination. And so when you use it for that pathway to your spiritual development, then all of the you would be looking at all the different meanings that are there,
Mm-hmm.
and in order to reflect upon them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've certainly dissected each one of the tarot cards at some point. But like you said, some sticks with you more than others, and like it depends on what, like if you're using it for self-development, spirituality, if you're using it for divination reading for others. Um, I think it's one of those pieces of the card that I don't really focus too much on, but it's really interesting that we're bringing it up tonight. So maybe now it'll jump out at me the next time I read for somebody with the
Yeah.
moon card. All right.
Yeah. All right. So I've added a little bit more color. It's starting to look a little bit more dynamic from my end over here when I'm looking at it with these three different colors that are in the sky.
I'm loving it. I love the colors. And Elizabeth says it's turning out to be more like Twilight, which is perfect because that's exactly what we're going for, right? Like that darker time.
Yeah. And well, if you're in different states of night, and there's different things going on in the different states of night.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly. Ooh.
And so we're in about not guy, sky. What was that song with the Purple Rain? Excuse me while I kiss this sky.
Yes.
I thought excuse me while I kiss this guy because that's what it sounded like, but it wasn't until I actually looked at the lyrics and oh, it's not. It doesn't. That was a Soft Cell did a rendition of the song, but it was Jimi Hendrix's song.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Excuse me while I kiss the sky.
Yes. Purple haze.
Yeah, Purple Haze. Yeah.
Tom,
Yeah.
my music buddy, Tom and Heather. Yeah. Yeah, so we did a lyrical live stream the other day. That was fun, right? So we took songs from the 80s and put it in a spinning wheel, and we were reading for other people on the live stream, and we would pick a song for them, focus on the lyrics, and then use some of those lyrics to tie into the reading with the cards for people. And it was really fun. And actually, it's really interesting when you pause to read lyrics, because often songs, like, we're singing them, we can hear them, we know them, but when you pause to read the lyrics, some of the lyrics are like, "What? What am I reading?"
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun.
Well, it's like, I didn't realize until in the last 10 years that Ozzy Osbourne was an anti-war pro war singer. I mean, most all of his music was all anti-war stuff.
Oh, Ozzy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, where we're going from now? What? So, how about let's do the dogs first, and then go
Yeah.
on to the other things.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so like we were saying earlier about domesticated versus the others. So what colors? Oh, hello, Chris. How are you? Thanks for joining us. Topaz is Chris.
Well,
Yeah.
welcome, Topaz. Yeah, so this is just as a this is where you're on. This is the 999 show. We're doing art tonight, and this is my first time with a guest. I recently changed my channel name back to what it was when it was original. Almost. I mean, when I originally had it, I had a "the" in front of the 999, and I never liked that once after I put it in there. And anyways, that's neither here nor there.
Mhm.
So what about the dog? What about the dogs?
Okay. So everybody in chat, what do you think we should color the domesticated dog? The one on the left. So when you think of domesticated, what color comes to mind? And then the other one, right? So the more wild one. Um, so the one on the left, domesticated.
Pink?
Yeah, because the other one would have to be more like vibrant and like wild. The other one should be more like
Like
subdued.
bright red, and the other one might be just sort of oh wait, I think I got something. How about this peachy color?
Ooh. Yep. That would be more like tamed down. Yeah, one light and the other dark. Yep, exactly. Mm-hmm. That's good. This deck, I've had this deck for years, this secret color, and I love the smell of it. I know it's so weird, but it still has such a really good smell to it.
Yeah.
Some inks are better than others. Well, we had that conversation before, haven't we, Bill?
Where they are they smell and have a funky smell.
Yeah, some of them are. Ugh. Some of them don't
Well,
smell too good.
like this one here. This was my first tarot deck,
Yeah, that's
and
the one.
it has a really it's starting to fade now, but it has kind of a almost like I was thinking like formaldehyde or
Ugh.
uh some kind of a weird ass smell. And when I first used it, I think I
Oh,
was it was like in a warm room and I was shuffling and what's that smell?
oh
I
my
mean, oh my
God.
God, I can't even this is gonna give me a headache. And so
Ugh.
I like the idea of it, but then I was like, as I've gotten on, I'm thinking, I don't think that keyword decks are beginner decks at all. I think that these are just for people like Einstein who know everything, but then they haven't memorized anything. It's like is what my dad would have had told me is that Einstein, when it came to like memorizing phone numbers, why should I do that? There's a phone book right there. Why should I waste my time memorizing this stuff? And then, it'd be like I was in math class, and why can't I just go into that test with a formula sheet? I know how to make those formulas. Why do I need to memorize all that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you go and fail an exam because you haven't memorized everything. And you know, remember
Yeah.
that this one was like the first I took calculus more than once. It took me more than one time to pass it. And I had this one a-hole professor, Dr. Dell, and he was. I guess I had found out later is that he really liked the super bright students because it made him feel better to be around all these super bright people. But he wasn't. He was more just like average intelligence,
Hmm.
and but nevertheless, he I forgot the chain rule, and I was taking an exam, but then I went through and I went back and derived the whole chain rule from the theory. I went back to the theory, and so I knew it. And so that took 40 minutes of the 50-minute exam. And that was problem number one. And so then I failed that exam. I failed it. But I
Mhm.
knew I knew this. I knew the stuff, but didn't. I just couldn't pass it that exam in that timely manner, and because I
Yeah.
just didn't have that stuff memorized. I think I might.
Yeah, in university when we took, statistics, oh gosh, it was a pretty there was 2 different types of math classes we would take. One was statistics, I forget what the other one was called, but as soon as I got into the exam room for exam, the first thing I did is at the top of my exam, I wrote down my formulas because we couldn't bring anything in with us, and I'd be like studying, 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 and then boom, as soon as we got in, I'm like, write my formulas down because once I had the formula, then I'm like, I'm good, I got this. So
Yeah.
yeah, I know what you mean about that. And I do actually miss memorizing phone numbers because my childhood, that's what we did. I knew everybody's phone number, I knew all my family members phone numbers, and now, oh my gosh, we program them all on our phone and we just push the name, and god forbid if something happened to the phone, would we know the numbers? I don't know, probably not.
Mhm.
you know
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
um we're talking about sense of smell. Ooh, Tom says the best smelling deck is Lenora Carrington, Major
Mhm.
Arcana. They scented it with a powerful, oh, sorry, with a perfume. Oh, that's
This
very
one
interesting.
smells really nice. I like this one. The smell of it is this.
Now you got me smelling all my decks over here. This one's
Yeah.
older. This is like my oldest deck, so it doesn't smell like anything.
Mhm.
Take that
Yeah.
back. um,
Yeah. So, but then it was like I had like I don't know. I did this thing. I was working on this math problem, and I came up with something, and because I was trying to like see if I could solve the area of a circle without using the number pi, and this was
mhm.
like something I couldn't do it anymore because my brain has totally changed. I don't have
Yeah.
that kind of brain anymore. But so I came up, figured something out that kind of worked. And so I went to one of my classmates. He was in physics because I was a physics major and at that time. And then, and he looked at it, yeah, yeah. And I said, well, he said, you should show this to I said, "Could you show it to Dr. Dell?" He said, "Well, why don't you do it?" Well, no, he thinks I'm an idiot.
Oh,
don't, just go tell him what he thinks. And he looked at it, oh, this is brilliant. And but unfortunately, it just it just reduces right down to pi. So you didn't solve that. And he said, "Well, who did it?" He said, "Bill, that moron." You know, it was
aw,
something like, it's just like, no, that Bill couldn't have come up with that.
I,
That's not.
I hope they didn't
And
actually call you names. That's not nice. Oh gosh.
well, I don't know if they did or not, but I know that, like for instance, when I was like taking a GEC, uh, let's see, this one was more. I think we'll start with this base brown, and then we'll add some other colors to it.
Okay.
And my sister had told me that because her roommate was the TA for this particular anthropology archaeology professor
Hmm.
and and so because I had that learning disability and I couldn't quite and I didn't quite know it at that time, but I couldn't pass a 50-minute exam. And so my test scores were like C minuses, but then I did it. My papers were just I could spend all the time I wanted to. So the TA graded my paper out to be like an A, but then the guy looked at it and says, "No, that's not possible. This guy's an idiot." And so and then he downgraded it to like a C.
Oh.
And so I had heard about that, and then I would after that, I would go out of my way to, uh, was yeah, I took another class from him, and then I was very I wasn't very nice to him, I
Mm.
wasn't being mean to him at all.
Well, I wouldn't either if that's how they
I
were
mean,
treating you.
to the point that where it was like if he saw me on the street, he would walk onto the other side. Uh,
Oh my god. Wow. That's
yeah, yeah,
harsh.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
But that was a long time ago.
Mason Smith. Hi, how are you? Thanks for joining.
Welcome, Mason.
Mhm.
An instrument. What kind of instrument? You mean like a harmonica or something?
I'm not sure what Mason means by that. Let us know what you mean by that. Mr. OD was talking about making copies with the carbon paper, and actually, I do remember that. So this was, oh gosh, I must have been in second grade maybe, and we still had that in the school I was going to because you go down to the office and there was a copy room off to the side, and I know that smell you're talking about. They actually had one. I don't know why they still had it because like, we had the Xerox machines then too, right? But even like a fresh Xerox copy, that could smell pretty good too sometimes. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess I hadn't really thought about that. I mean, this other stuff. I mean, my high school guidance counselor thought I was too stupid to go to college. I mean, um,
What the hell, Bill? That's so crazy.
well, it's all about that having, you have a learning disability and it's not recognized.
Wow. I mean, we definitely have come so much further with that now because there's, support programs in place. I know for me, when I was in university, I was one of the tutors and the mentors. So people who needed extra help would come to me for the help, and I was happy to do it. Sometimes, and you know what I found too, because everybody's brain works differently. It's not that you're stupid or anybody's less than. It's just that we need information packaged and presented in a different way for people to understand it. And yeah, I think that, well, I know that the teacher can make or break the student, right? So if you're not reaching the student in your delivery of your content, then, 9 times out of 10, they have to reach out, on their own time, behind the scenes to a mentor or tutor. And so, yeah, it was an honor and a privilege to serve in that way as well, to help people out.
Mhm.
They always called me Mama Bear because remember when I went to university, I went to university with a bunch of like young 18, 19, 20 year olds. And here I'm like, in my late 30s, early 40s kind of thing. So it was cool though. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Then I had a bunch of then I had a battery of tests done, and then after that, I went with my recommendations, and so I got, like, take-home exams, and then things started to get better. But
yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, like I'm sorry that there wasn't extra support back then, but they definitely recognize it more now. I mean, even like all colleges and universities that I know of, as long as you have your doctor's note, then they can, supply you with that support. Hey, Whitecliff, how are you? It's nice to see you. Nice to see you on this side of the screen. I know I always see you supporting Bill in these chats. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, he's like he doesn't live too far from me, like 100 miles away.
Oh, nice.
Good
West
100 miles.
Coast.
Yeah, it's like, yeah,
Mhm. We're still talking about the smell of the inks, my friend.
all of the inks, yeah, yeah.
Smell is
So
fascinating, the link to smell and memory and how it can transport us back. In my line of work in the medical field, I did a lot of work with Alzheimer's patients, and the link between memory and music and memory and smell and working with Alzheimer's patients was amazing.
so what about this one here, the crab?
Crustacean. Ooh, yeah. Let's do I mean, it's always like a typical red. I think we should do something different because aren't some of the crustaceans blue? Like can't like in the oceans and stuff? Like a really cool blue though. Like
Okay, let's go. These ones are a little bit harder to tune down to a small. So okay, I'll go. Okay, you can take a look at. Yeah, so we got in my family. It's got that autism gene that that I got from my grandfather, and so anybody who says that autism is caused by vaccines is full of it because there is because how would somebody have be Asperger's or autistic and it's 1900?
Yeah. Do you have like a teal color? I see one. Let's see. It's kind of like, yeah. Is that like a teal? That'd
I
be
don't
kind
know.
of cool.
I'm just
It
a
could be.
dumb man when it comes to colors. I don't not a I'm these are my let me just go grab all my
Yeah,
blue and then
that sounds good.
um I know that some people don't like me to say that, but I'm not saying it as I think I'm dumb, but it's a matter is that
No.
there is a dumb male thing when it comes to colors and not knowing what the names of the shades are,
Oh,
and though I be a an artist, I am one of those dumb males like that.
it's all good. Just shades of blue and green for the crustacean. That's
And
all we need to know.
yes, these are the blues. So this is an indigo, and this is a dark blue, and then we got a little baby blue. We got this blue. This is a kind of a neon. It's a what's this? A non-photo blue, and this is a metallic blue.
Oh, I like
Yeah,
that. Oh, I like that one. Yeah, that one right there. That's more like a
blue
greenish
green.
blue. Yeah, that one. That'd be good.
All right.
I think that would tie in nicely. Yes. See, look, that looks good already.
And then what color
That
is the
looks.
water going to be after this?
Um.
The
So
moon, is it going to be like the same color as the sky
that
or
would be
similar?
cool because it would be like reflecting into the water, right?
Yeah. So
Ooh.
a shade is like the sky.
That would be really cool. I like when you're painting, I love when you do that with the water and you have like the reflective light. Um, I was just looking the other day. There was a book called, okay, let me think. Something about the advantage of being dyslexic or something like that. So I have a couple of different forms of dyslexia. So some it's called dyscalculia. So it's about the numbers and how they switch around sometimes. And some people are dyslexic with the actual words and letters. I mean, there's actually different forms of it, right?
There,
Um, mhm. And so
so like,
it is a power though that you have. It's not, people want to call it a disability. It's like, no, your brain just computes things differently and you just have to know what that looks like and just be very careful when you're doing things that involve what you're doing. So like if you're editing a book, well then you're going to be extra careful with your words, and if you're drawing up medication for someone, you're going to be extra careful with your numbers, you know what I mean? So um yeah, as above so below, exactly, Tom, with the water reflection.
mm, mm,
Mm,
some green too on this thing. Kind of layer those colors in.
I like that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Like Tom said, make it work to your advantage. Exactly. And um, I love how there's so much more research and people coming out about it and, talking about it and talking about neurodivergence and how, again, it's just that your brain works differently than other people. And actually, and I think Elizabeth just mentioned it in chat that, she thinks maybe that she has had, or maybe still has, I don't know, ADHD. And it's interesting how we've began to label all of these things, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's call it ADHD, let's call it this, let's call it that. Well, okay. And I suppose, when it comes down to having a practice in terms of being a doctor, you have to have labels for things, of course, but and part of it makes me wonder if, like, because we're all so unique and we're all individuals, like, now we're starting to sort of divide people, like, well, you're this and you're that, and like your child's too hyper, so you got to put him on this medication. It's like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that actually, because I just think that it's important that we all are supported in a way that allows us to reach our full potential when it comes to the way our brains work. And like you just use a good example, Bill, of how, you know, some people in the institutions, school institutions can hold that against you. Oh, well, your brain works differently, so you go over there. It's like, wait, what? I
Yeah,
think that's wild, right?
there is that whole dividing thing. I actually, I get super pissed when I'm filling out forms and they want to know, well, what color are you? And I
Oh,
go through and I scratch out all those colors and I just put American down and just
oh,
leave it. And then well, what do you? How am I supposed to deal with this? They say, well, I don't care.
yeah.
Whatever color you want to put in there. But then I think that position might actually come from also a position of white privilege. Because I didn't really want to go there, um,
Yeah.
but then
Yeah.
again, a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people that don't want to be divided by a particular color or
Mhm.
ethnicity or whatever, and so let's go bring that up a bit, different shade of something else in there.
Yeah, and depending what paperwork you're filling out, like they would be asking you for the demographics for different reasons. I would like to think, you know,
Well, of course, why,
uh,
but
making sure like there's equality in some places, and um,
mm,
I'll use an example for medical field because I don't know a better example because that's where I've worked is, um, for example, if we know someone's ethnicity, then we actually know a lot more about what they are susceptible to. Like some African American people are more susceptible to certain, are more prone, excuse me, to different ailments than let's say like a Caucasian. It's actually really fascinating when it comes to medicine and
yeah,
that sort of thing. But I understand what you're saying though, like, about ticking all these boxes and segregating in that. I understand that too.
if I get government form or something like that and said, well, I mean, what difference does it make, It's like, so the path. Do you think that the path should also be like the color of the moon or something like that?
It should definitely be illuminated. So like definitely a yellow, but like with highlights of maybe like purple. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a because I think if we make it like too much like the moon or the background, it's all just gonna blend in. But
Oh
if we
yeah.
make it like yellow and then like highlights of purple, that'd be really cool.
Okay, so let's
Because the
go.
path is like really important in the moon card.
Yeah, sort of a yellow orangey color.
The silver lining.
Well, thank you, White Cliff. This is my first time, of course, doing this, and so I'm going to be doing this stuff a lot more going forward.
Yeah, I think this is cool that you're branching out and trying something different. And I was so honored that you asked me to be the first one on here. I'm like, okay. Like, I was like, I'm going live with Bill. Everyone's like, you're going live on Bill's channel? What? I'm like, I know, right? I was excited. I shared it in my community tab, and I see that actually people have shown up here from that
Oh
link too.
yeah,
So I'm really glad.
yeah.
Um,
So yeah, I'm going to be trying to do this more. I mean, I don't know if I know that Karen has wanted to come on and to do.
yes. Karen is very excited to meet up with you. Maybe you can play Scrabble together. She loves Scrabble.
Well, we could try that. I think that or maybe what I was like thinking, well, maybe we could do like checkers with 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 the little mini tarot cards and move those things around.
That's cool too. Yeah, there's so many different ideas in this format, and I don't see anyone else doing it like this, Bill. So that's really
Well,
cool.
I think probably I'll just kind of stick to. Well, we'll see. I think with doing it with this coloring book is a good thing. And now we're gonna do the hill. I think we'll come in. Oh, how did I get these like 6-year-old marks here? Okay. All right. So let's go. I'm gonna do the ground like a greenish tone.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like grass. So yeah, definitely like greenish. It's cool.
Even though it's sort of a darker thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because one of the things I had thought about was like, well, I don't see people doing reaction videos to tarot either. But then it kind of feels like, oh, maybe that's kind of sacrilegious to do that because to do the reaction video.
Oh, good night, Miss Hero D. Thanks for being here.
Thank you,
Thank you
Mr.
so
Odin.
much. Have a restful sleep.
Mm,
And Elizabeth said her daughter walked in and was interested in what you're doing here, Bill. So that's really cool.
okay,
Say hello to Elizabeth's daughter. Hi.
welcome. Welcome. It's this is a sixth grade, 6-year-old art we're going on here.
Oh,
I mean kindergarten art.
no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
It's all right. It's what it
it's
is.
good. It's a Three of Cups moment. We're all hanging out, celebrating Bill's
Yeah.
artistic abilities and talking tarot and whatever else comes up.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
started in your 20s, and then um you were at that was is that when you went to the workshop and you got they gifted you the deck, or was
Ye-
that a different?
Yeah. So I would have been, let's see, 21. Um, 23, 24, 25, 27. Because I started with tarot like way after Oracle. So yeah, I would have been definitely mid to late 20s by that time. And see, this is interesting because my first tarot was like an angel tarot deck. And for Doreen Virtue and Radley Valentine, it was like what they did was they took all the scary cards, quote unquote, like the death card and the tower, and they sort of smoothed it over with wording and imagery that wasn't so scary,
Mhm.
which is kind of ridiculous if you think about it, because that's not really how it's supposed to go. But I didn't know, so I was using that at first. And then I thought, I want to learn a little bit more. Well, holy, I was following tarot on the internet before I used a tarot deck, but when you're not practicing it yourself or using the card yourself, it's sort of it doesn't really stick. But then when you devote yourself, you're okay, I'm going to study this, I'm going to learn this myself. You're like, oh, you start to really dive into the symbolism, obviously, and the meaning. And then I
Mhm.
recognize, like, well, wait a minute, there's no scary cards. It's just life and the different sort of things that happen and come up. And so, yeah, it's during virtue. What do you expect? Exactly. I know,
Well,
flowery and magical.
that some cards have a more evilly feel to it than others do.
Yeah, yeah, sure. There's definitely lighter and heavier cards. Yeah, for sure. But I just had someone in one of my live chats the other day, and I think it was a tower card that was pulled, and they were like, "The tower is my friend," and I was like, "Hey, there you go." They like the tower card because obviously for them and on their life path, any tower moments that they've had was a shakeup that was much needed, and they embraced it.
Mhm.
I mean, certainly, there are tower moments that are absolutely destructive and not good. But yeah, the tower is a good card. I agree, Tom. I mean, we have to have that. We have to have that change and that shakeup and that destruction. Burn it all down to rebuild it again.
Yeah. Well, I think that, coming from a more Christian perspective, that some of the cards, like the devil card and those
Mm,
kind of feel kind of like, oh, you're kind of going off into this other realm when, you know, you're evoking the devil or whatever. But then if you look at it with the devil being like what that represents your shadow self, or
right.
that self, that part within that you are sort of chained to. So but so with a little bit of a study uh into tarot meanings, and then it has a totally different perspective.
Exactly. And it's all what you're exposed to, right? So like yourself being raised in a church as well as myself. Yeah, definitely. At first, the devil card's like, "Ooh, that's scary," burning in the depths of hell. Like, what the hell? Who wants that card? But
Mhm.
once you realize, and you take the Lover's card and you hold it next to the devil card, and you realize it's just polar opposites of self. It's like, oh, wait a minute, or not necessarily opposites, but you know what I mean? Reflections, like light and shadow. Yeah, and so it does take on a different meaning, but certainly at first, and to someone who maybe, like you said, doesn't know the symbolism, it's like it can be jarring, some of the cards for sure.
Mhm.
Um,
So we're getting down to it here. I'm
yeah, it's
just doing.
looking really good. I really like it. I especially love the sky.
Mhm.
Elizabeth is saying decks like that have a purpose. Yes, I have a hug deck. Sometimes, depending on the topic, I need to pull out the big guns. Right. And that's why a lot of us have so many different decks because they all have like these different energies to them and different feels. And for me, different uses as well. Like when I'm feeling, like you said, when you need something more gentle, you kind of pull from the hug decks. And when you need something to cut right to the truth, you're like, okay, we're going to pull out this one because this one just kind of, you know, doesn't dance around the topic
Yeah.
here.
Well, it's like, I like the art in the light seers, but it never gives me any good news.
Oh, yeah? Oh, you were
So
mentioning that in one of the lives too. Yeah, you said that every time you
it's
read with it, it's like,
yeah,
oh,
this is the bad news deck. Yeah.
bad news. Yeah. That's interesting. And see, that just goes to show you it's not necessarily the artwork, it's sort of like the person using the deck. Like, some people might have a totally different take on the Lightseers deck. I know so many people love it. There's some people that absolutely hate it. um,
Yeah.
so then it becomes like, well, is it really about the artwork or is it about how the person sort of reading the card is interpreting it and how they view the artwork through their lens? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's something like that. It's
yeah. It
well,
all
and there's
comes
some.
down to psychology, I think.
Mhm. Well, thank you. Thank you. That yeah, it is starting to come together. I can yeah.
It is. Oh, look at
So,
it. I was shuffling a deck and look who came out. He wanted to visit. Hello.
let's
Okay,
see.
devil. We hear you.
Yeah. Well, we are almost done with this thing.
It looks really good.
Let's see. I got some other coppery tones here. We're just gonna put that stuff in here and different darker shades and kind of go over the colors a little. This has been a real treat. That's all I can say.
Yeah,
Have
this is really cool. I like this format. Um,
yeah,
so for the path, do you have something that we can highlight it with a little bit?
yeah.
Like
We can do something. Yeah.
I hear something out my I think you know what, there's snow plows out there. I'm thinking, who is driving around like that at 1:20 in the morning? But I think it's a snow plow.
So I'm um. We can use this
Oh,
like a neon type of yellow
yeah,
coming
that'd be
in.
cool. Brighten it up a little bit.
I'll go over some of the colors. And
There you go.
so, did you have any questions for me?
Let's see. I really enjoyed your question show that you did the other day where we could ask you questions and then you went live. That was really cool.
No.
Um, let's see. So you mentioned that you're sort of getting your feet wet with reading tarot for other people.
Mhm.
So, have you been doing that lately, like on a different channel or?
No, I haven't. Actually, I think I'm gonna. I have a pretty uneasy about opening that old channel up again, and I think I'm not going to do that. So, but
Okay,
I think I'm just gonna open up a new channel. I might start it maybe in February, but with like I'm not sure.
that's cool. Yeah, I mean, however you're comfortable diving in. Actually, I had somebody reach out to me today behind the scenes, and they were like, "Hey, like, I kind of want to like, read the tarot for others, but I'm not really sure I'm fully getting it. Like, I've read the books and I've, done this, that, and what do you suggest?" And I'm like, "You know what? Let's just go like behind the scenes privately and let's just pull some cards and we could talk about it." That way, so here's the thing, like when people are learning how to read tarot, the hardest part is card combinations of putting them together. You can know all 78 cards, that's fine, upside down and inside out, but when you go to do a reading, you're like, "Oh man, how do I put this all together?" So yeah, like Tom's saying, you just have to jump in and do it. But some people are more comfortable at that than others. And if you wanted to behind the scenes do some practice readings, Bill, I'm totally open to that too.
Well, I've read for my sister before, but
Oh.
I don't do, uh, I don't do the spreads.
Hmm,
I
hmm.
haven't learned it. I do maybe take 4 or 5 cards or something like that
Yeah.
and see how they seem to fit together.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. The only thing I think that, like when it comes to tarot, you need like a minimum of 3 cards to read tarot. That's my opinion. I know some people will be on here and they'll just pull like 1 card. I'm like, okay, that's not a reading though, because the whole point of tarot is how the cards lie and fall together, and then you create the story, and then you create the message, right? And so that's cool, yeah. However it's comfortable for you to learn it. I think that's really cool.
So,
Um,
okay, I'm gonna ask another question here is,
yeah.
so do you, think it's actually possible that you can read the future?
Um, I definitely believe that there are some people that are specifically gifted in that realm, in that area. It has been proven actually that people can predict things that are about to happen. They can tell you when you're going to die, all that kind of stuff. Am I that person? No, and I don't
Mhm,
pretend to be. Now, I think where divination and tarot kind of get a bad name and that stigma is where people sort of pretend they can and calling
mhm,
themselves psychics. And remember, psychic is sort of a loaded word, right? I believe we all have psychic abilities, but
mhm,
I think we have to define it specifically. Are you going to come to me for a reading so that I can tell you who you're going to marry, what day, all that kind of, no, like I'm not that kind of a reader. I think that those abilities are very rare, to be honest with you. I mean, to the point where, there's some police departments that will hire, people that can literally sketch them a sketch of somebody they can see for solving a crime, for example. Like that's very specific. And I, with my own eyes, have witnessed that that is true, but very rare.
mhm.
So, do I think that it can be predicted? Yes, but um, yeah, it's a rare ability that I have seen out here for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know, because you're reading the energy as it is today, and
Right.
that energy can change. But then,
Yes.
how much of that energy field, or let's say when people were trying to predict who was going to be the president, and everyone was got it wrong for
Mhm,
them,
mhm.
but that was what the energy was. Maybe it was just wishful thinking,
Yep.
and
There's a lot of bias and a lot of their own personal crap in there for sure. Because so many people were like, "Oh my gosh, I did all these readings and I didn't predict that that individual was going to win." It's like, well, because you're putting your own spin on it. That's why you were too involved in the reading. That's why a lot of times if someone's really needing to know something that they have like this burning question for, a lot of times I'll suggest that they get a reading from a professional tarot reader, right? Instead of reading for yourself. Sometimes you're
Mhm,
too close to the subject, you're too close to the situation. You do need somebody else's opinion, if you will. But predictive reads, okay, yeah, sure. They definitely are a thing. But for me personally, like you said, I tap more into the current energies, and basically it's giving someone guidance and options. It's not necessarily laying something in stone, right? It's saying like, okay, here's the energies right now, and here's where it could go,
mhm.
and as you know, it's all about free will. What are you going to do with it? Um,
Yeah.
all tarot readings involve work, and if the person getting the reading isn't willing to do the work, then you might as well not get the reading. That's what I think.
Mhm. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, because I've always kind of wondered about that. I was always just thinking that it was more about what is going on in the present tense versus what's going on in the future tense.
Right. Yes, exactly. Like reading the current energies. Yeah, yeah. And like I said, some people can reach far out and say, "Oh, I can see this happening and that happening." Okay, cool.
Mhm.
But like you said, so many things can happen between now and then. So is that really going
Yeah.
to take place? And yeah.
But it may be also that I'm a huge believer in free will and
Mhm.
choose something else. They can choose a different path.
That's right. Exactly. Yes.
It
Like
may be
magic.
so, yeah, so then a few other different colors here, kind of blend in together. Use that blender tool. So where are we at? We're 90 minutes in. And yeah, I know that I've had a wonderful time. And hold on a second.
Yeah, tarot for self-reflection. Yeah, I mostly use tarot for self-reflection, but you're right, Elizabeth. I definitely have seen things come into the cards where you're like, okay. And for me, like I sort of tuck it in the back, I'll journal about it, I'll whatever. Or if I'm reading for others and I get a clear hit, I'm like, hey, this is coming up, and I always I don't want to get someone's hopes up, but I will mention it if I get like a really strong hit, like, hey, I see this in the cards. Not saying it's absolutely going to happen, but you might want to keep that in mind. And so
Yeah.
yeah, but
So,
oh,
I mean, so like I have this. Hold on a second here. And so, I mean, I get this a lot, which is like with dreams,
mhm.
and you get an emotion, you feel emotion or something. It's like I had even just like today, the emotion that I was experiencing in a dream like 2 weeks ago,
Mm.
and or generally that feeling comes and it's like later on that day or so forth, and
Ooh, I know what you mean, like the feeling kind of, yes.
yeah,
uh Either it was so strong that you wake up with it and you're like, "Whoa." I mean, it could be jarring, it could be whatever, depending on the feeling, of course, of the dream. But you're right. Sometimes you sort of are going about your day and you'll feel it again and you're like, hey, it's almost like deja vu, right? Like, hey, I've been here before, I felt this before. And then you remember, like, oh, yeah, like I was dreaming it. So for example, the other night, this happened to me. It was such a vivid dream. I'm telling you. There is a like a crawl space above our home, and we don't there's nothing up there, and you have to access it from the outside of the house. But I'm telling you, in my dream there was someone living up there. And actually, you know what? Ramon was part of this dream. Not that he was living up there, but he actually was in my home and he was going to help us with some construction of the home. And what we had to do is pull some tiles down from the ceiling. And when Ramon was helping pull the tiles back, there was a bunch of things that fell, like personal belongings, and we're all looking at each other like, what is going on? And then we heard people running around above us, and I thought, what? I remember in the dream being really scared, like, "Well, what's up there?" I was like, "Is it an animal?" Or and then we recognized, like, "Oh, there's somebody living up there." And then
mm,
it was like a younger child, and she was scared she wouldn't have anywhere to go, and it was so weird. But anyway, to make a long story short, that feeling of, like, both fear that, like, somebody's invading your space, and also a feeling of, like, "Oh my gosh, you have nowhere to go because you've been living here, but we didn't know it." It was really freaky, really. I don't know, dreams are really interesting to me, and, I've done dream work over the years where, like, it actually requires a lot of energy, like, to remember a dream, to write it down, and then to try to analyze it. I was sleeping with certain cards under my pillow to try to bring certain dreams on, and it was working, and, trying to, like, astral project. It
mhm,
requires a lot of energy, but you have to be ready for it, and you have to get the proper sleep in order to get to the levels you need to get to in order to tap into those messages. But
yeah.
dreams are very fascinating. So, have you had one recently where like that feeling followed you throughout your day, Bill? Or
Well, I think it was like a couple weeks ago, and um, I was like in a land of giants or something like that, and
Ooh.
kind of then it was like I was hiking someplace, and I was trying to make my way back home, and where was it? It was like there was the forest. And I haven't actually been in the forest that are near my house for a decade. I mean, literally, I haven't been. It's been a decade because, like, the last time I went up there, I spooked a cougar, and I was riding a bicycle, and I spooked it. It was giant. It was this big giant thing, and there was like the tail. The tail seemed to be really long, and it was sunning itself in the road. And I had just been there, and I never seen anything move so fast in my life.
Wow.
Creature. And but see, there's all these cougars. Well, this is just the literal part. That has nothing to do with the dream.
Right.
Are all these cougars in this area? And there's more of them. And like when I was a kid, there probably wasn't that many of them. But now, there's like there's people who have trail cams up in those because they're hunters, they're
Mhm.
tribal. They have special licenses so they can like hunt with dogs and
Mhm.
unless you're tribal, you can't hunt with dogs around here. I don't think you can do it anywhere in the state unless you're native. And but nevertheless, they have trail cams up there, and they've noticed that how many there's like how many cougars there are. And so, like, for instance, around
Mhm.
here, cougars is the only creature that you can shoot a cougar and then ask and get a tag later.
Mm.
With like elk and deer, you can't do that. They'll come and pretty much arrest you, or for as close to arrest you as possible to do that. But nevertheless, we go back to that dream, and I was coming through the forest, and then I chanced upon this big barn, and it was like full of clothing that was being dried. It was all different colored clothing, but it was clothing that a giant would wear. That like a big. And then I was like, well, I was getting cold. It was getting close to dark, and I just realized I didn't have any clothes on, you know.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
but then that's when I woke up. But then that feeling that I had in that moment, I had that feeling later that day, and then this afternoon I had that feeling again, and that whole dream just came all on back, and I don't really know what that feeling was.
So if you had to
uh,
put a name to the feeling, would it be like vulnerability? Because I
mm,
mean, like quite frankly, if you don't have clothes on, you're gonna feel vulnerable, right? Especially in the middle of the
maybe,
woods.
maybe, but I don't know that it was that way. I think it may have been more of a physical sensation than it was a
Mhm.
emotion.
Oh, that's interesting. Good night, Bill, or not Bill. Good night, Tom.
Right, Tom. Yeah, thank you for being here. Yeah, yeah. So,
Thanks.
so you think maybe a few? Yeah, I think it's done here.
I think it looks really good. I really liked how you blended the colors of the sky together. I like the reflection in the water. The path is clearly illuminated. The dogs are distinct from one another, and I think it looks really good.
Well, thank you very much. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to write on this. Where's my pen? I have them, and this is today is what, the 10th? Is it still the 10th?
Well, it's the 10th for you, yes, January 10th. It's the 11th here. You're talking in the future to me.
Yes. Um, with
Mhm.
a, so we're looking at this is directed. This is directed by so this image was directed by Roots and Waves.
Yeah, and the chat. Yeah, it was fun actually. I liked that everybody was here and adding to the conversation. We covered a bunch of different things and it was
Yeah,
really cool. I like this format, Bill. I think you're on to something and I
yeah,
look
yeah. So,
forward to you're going to have all these other guests on and who knows what
yeah.
you're going to get up to, all these different creative ideas, right?
So let me see if I can turn the camera without showing off the clutter of my room here. Let's see if I do this.
Just put your hand over it.
My hand over that, and then I can turn the camera around.
There
There we
you
go.
are. Hey.
Okay, hold on. Let's just do that.
There's
Okay,
Bill.
there we are.
Hey there.
So, okay, all right. Well, this was good.
Right? It was. It was different. It was fun. It was like a relaxing thing where you didn't have to really put too much, you could just let things flow. It was good. It was
That's
good.
why it was actually a lot easier for me than having to come up with a narrative or a dialogue all the time while I was doing this. And so,
Yeah, for sure. Well, it can be distracting, right? You're trying, especially with art and creativity, you're trying to focus on that. And then you got the chat, and then sometimes there's nonsense in the chat. So you got to stop and deal with the nonsense, right? So,
well,
yeah.
a lot of time it's I can do this level of multitasking to a certain degree, but sometimes I'll be working on my painting and then I'm calling one of my buddies on the phone and then they'll say, "Bill, are you drunk?" I don't get it. What's going on? I don't understand. What you're are you listening? Is that what's going on? I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I was that was like if I would talk with David, and I shouldn't say his name, but in Minneapolis, and 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 he would be say so I with certain people I can't quite do that
Yeah.
and because he has some issues, and so like when I first met David in the spoken word scene in Seattle, and I could only talk to him when he had a couple beers because it would be like as soon as I asked him, "Oh, I couldn't quite hear that," and he said, "I don't repeat myself," and then he'd get up and storm away, and it was
Oh,
just, "What the hell? What's wrong?" And I didn't understand, and it, and then that was just the way that was him. That was who he was.
yeah. Different personality. Oh boy.
And then
Uh,
want to go out for coffee in these places where the music was really loud, and I'm thinking,
oh.
"I can't even hear in this place." And then a
Mhm.
conversation, and he's talking, and then of course then we used to write back and forth, but I couldn't understand him because he wrote it in his own language, and
Mm.
it's
Sounds
not
like
like
a colorful character all around. Wow.
yeah,
Um,
right.
yeah, I actually have a certain type of a deafness. It depends on the surrounding noise. And even like in my last job, if there was too many people talking and plus you have the music overhead, I literally I don't hear it. And some people are like, Angela, Angela, and they're calling my name and they're getting frustrated with me and I don't hear them. And finally they have to come up, tap me on the shoulder. Hello, are you paying attention? I'm like, I didn't even hear you. So I always have to make sure that if I'm in a group setting or where there's background noise, I have to explain myself. Like if I don't respond, it's not that I'm ignoring you. I actually can't hear you. I'm actually tone deaf to a certain degree, right? So
You have audio processing.
yeah, probably. I mean,
Audio
what I yeah.
that sounds like 'cause that's what I have is audio processing disorder, and audio processing disorder is on the level of it's in that it's not autistic, but it's in that same gene type. So I have a lot
Mhm,
of customers who are full blown autistic, and so I'm assuming that they got a double whammy with it, with on either side of their family. But with
mhm,
the audio processing disorder that came down from my mother's father, and then my mom has it. She has it, and she's also face blind. and
Oh, really?
so she's face blind, and then she has this audio processing, but where it comes with her, she butchers words, and so my father, when my
Mhm.
father was, he would be saying, "Well, you're doing that on purpose," and it's like, no, she wasn't doing it on purpose. That was the way she heard it, or like
Oh.
all these words when I was growing up that I didn't. I read them in books. I read about them, read them, but I had no idea how to pronounce them.
Mhm,
It
mhm,
wasn't until later when I was in my mid-20s, and I said, "Well, okay, this is what you got to do. You're gonna you're gonna get all your books from the library of the blind and the dyslexic,
mhm.
and you're gonna listen to those books, and you're gonna read along at the same time." And that's how, and so your reading speed, those were tape recorders or tape players that you could increase the speed on them to increase so that's how I had to do that for a couple of years.
Mm.
And,
Oh,
and,
wow.
and so you're kind of learning, and then um and also I think it was also doing things like uh how to remember names. I didn't remember people's names, but I
Mhm.
would give somebody a nickname, and then I would write it down. Of course, I would never tell you the nickname that I came up with,
Right.
you know. And
Yeah.
then, but then came a time where I did not have to do that anymore, and I just remembered their names. And so there was like when I was in Seattle, and there was this lady, and she reminded me of some actress, and I didn't want to say the actress's name
Mhm.
because she didn't always do straight up Hollywood acting. She did other acting, and didn't and that person didn't. They transitioned out of that acting, so they didn't have to do that. And so anyway, and I didn't want to say that person's name. And then this
Yeah.
person, she said she didn't understand, how is it that you keep remembering my name? I don't get it.
Mhm.
You haven't seen me for 2 years and you remember my name. It just bothers me. It's creepy, or, think, "Well, I'm sorry. I just remembered your name," but, I didn't wanna say why I remembered the name because,
Yeah.
I didn't wanna say that. I didn't say didn't wanna tell the story because then it would be like it would be
Awkward.
worse. It would be awkward or worse for myself. I'm sorry, you just reminded me of someone, and it just and that person was like seared into my brain, yeah. And I actually don't remember the actress's name anymore, but I know she did act in some Stephen King films, and so forth. But um, anyways, and so that was like doing things to, but it took just the act of writing it down, the nickname and the
Mhm.
attribute on the person, and the next thing you know, you memorize their name. Then it was like another point in time was when I was doing public access TV, and I had a poetry show, and I would have these open mics, and the people would come. And so then I would take everybody's name down, and then it would be like in that kind of video editing, I would put the name on the bottom of the screen when they went up and read, and then I would see these guys in town, and I said, "Oh, hi, so and so," and so I don't understand how it is and I don't remember your name. Well, you know what? You remember you were on my show, and I did the video editing, and it does take like an hour to of time to do 1 minute of video, so it's like that was an hour long video, and I spent
Mhm.
like 60 hours editing the darn thing, and I saw your name repeatedly and repeatedly and
Yeah.
repeatedly, and so I remembered your name. I'm sorry that I remembered your name, but that's just the way it was.
I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah, associating it with yeah, like, even like in university, well, as you can imagine with nursing, you have so much to learn. And I had to do these silly like acronyms, and I had to do like associations like with colors, and I had to find a way to remember all that stuff, because it was just so much. And it still sticks with me today though. And I still utilize some of those ways of studying, if you will, for other things like the tarot. I think I'll always be studying the tarot because it's like a lifelong thing for me. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, anyways, I think this is a good show. I really appreciate that you
yeah,
came. I'm looking forward to, and of course, well you'll come on again, and
yeah,
uh,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
this
hope you
was
had a good
great.
time.
Yeah, it was. It was really a good time. It was like a relaxing, like people in chat are saying it was peaceful, easygoing, cathartic, right? These are some of the descriptive words. So I agree. I think it was very peaceful, relaxing, and again, different, which I like to see people doing different things out here, with YouTube. And this is definitely not something I've seen before. So
Well,
I was
so this
happy to be part of it.
make this more of a regular thing.
Yeah,
Maybe now maybe sometime it might be on one of those Saturday night things when I'm doing the or doing a painting. I might have somebody on and
that would be cool too. Yeah.
did I must have just froze. Did I just freeze?
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah. It was weird because it said the host left. I was like, what?
Yeah, yeah, it just was buffering or something like that. So
That's all
anyway,
right.
I think it's probably a good
That's all right.
stopping point, and
Yeah, sounds good.
um, it's and I want to thank everybody who came into the chat to say hello. And I'm sorry that if I didn't wasn't more interactive this time. And
All good.
we appreciated everybody who pushed the like button and if you were brand new and if you pushed the sub button, that's even better. And don't forget to go over to Roots and Waves channel and check her channel out and go participate into some of her live streams and
Thank you. Thank you.
do all the YouTube stuff.
Yeah. Sounds great. Well, thanks again, Bill. This has been really great. And I'm really looking forward to seeing other guests on your channel. And hopefully, like you said, you'll make this a regular thing because I think people really have enjoyed it. So
Yeah, and see, you're a lot more relaxed too than when we just first started.
mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I was relaxed then too, but I don't know. Maybe it's getting
But
later. I am getting tired, so maybe that's it too.
the first time of you've actually talking to me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like in this manner. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's different, when you're in chat. I don't really type that fast, and I wish
Mhm.
that my phone had actual buttons on it.
I know. It makes it so much.
I mean, the last time I had a phone that had actual buttons on it was like in 2013, and I hated going to the touch screen and the
Mhm.
buttons
It
and
doesn't always work, I know.
mhm.
Oh,
Where are we at? Yeah, I was like looking at my own. I keep track of on in this notebook of everything from how many views these videos get and everything, and
oh, cool.
so yeah, just
Nice.
wanna, and there we are. And so I'm gonna just cut this thing off right now.
Yeah, sounds good.
That whole what Midwestern thing or whatever you not knowing when to stop.
Yeah.
I think that was what was it? Furry Home Companion guy. What was that guy's name? The Lake Wobegon guy. Garrison Keeler, because he talked about this in some of his things. So Garrison Keeler had a big following because you do this popular show, and then the next thing you know, you step out on your wife or something like that, and you have this sex scandal that goes on. But I'm not saying that but then after those things happen, they sort of fade right out of view,
Mm,
and so Garrison Keeler isn't around anymore. Like Al Franken, it happened to him. Same thing happened to him too, and to a certain thing. And I'm not really saying. I mean, they're just trying to say that they. But the point being is that he talked about how hard it was to hang up the phone or to kick your
mhm.
out or whatever it is
Right, yeah.
to stop the conversation. And so we'll just say good night.
Okay.
And it
Sounds
was
good.
a pleasure, and we'll see you the next time. And I'll be back on tomorrow night too. Bye bye.
Sounds good. Good night. Bye.